Really? Really? That's what you're going to do after that Rays series? That's what we're going with. That's okay. I mentioned, let me pull this up a little bit. I mentioned in the last episode how the Phillies this season have conquered many house of horrors for them over the past years. You had Wrigley, you had Tampa Bay, you I believe that was it. They haven't conquered Marlins Park. They haven't conquered Oracle Park. They haven't conquered the Rangers Stadium. I forget Globe Life, I think it's called. And the Marlins have continuously did what the Marlins have done to us for years, which was embarrass us. And not a must win, but kind of a must win considering they're ahead of us in the wild card race. You it's a frustrating series. We'll get into it. Welcome back to .NET Phillies. I just kind of want to address some stuff. I do apologize for my lack of social media presence over the past few days, couple weeks. My work schedule has been absolutely insane, and I just really haven't had the time to be posting like I would normally because I've just been exhausted from work. For example, I worked 16 hours in the past 24. So I am a little tired. If you can hear it by the fluctuation in my voice, I am a little tired. But I wanted to get this episode out. So I promise you, I'm going to do my best to be posting more on social media, memes and, crap posts and, whatever else the Phillies faithful would like from me. If another thing was I kind of changed up. If the set looks a little different, I moved some stuff around and fixed the camera angle to make it a little more center. Kind of. I'm looking at it now and it's not really that center, but it's whatever. I was tinkering with it a lot, but sometimes when you're a perfectionist like I am, you just kind of got to let stuff go. And the third thing is a reminder, August 10th, 6:40, the 1 year live stream extravaganza is happening. I already have a couple people that will be joining me in the live stream as guests. So be sure to tune into that on YouTube. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So August 10th, 6:40, be there, be square. That's what I'll say. And like I keep saying in every episode, I will keep reminding you guys of that until the day is here. And I am very much looking forward to that. So in today's episode, we have headlines. We got the series against the Marlins to go over. Another edition of the trashiest show on the internet, which is Where Are They Now? And since there's not a series preview to go over because we're at the All-Star break, I gave out some midseason grades for every single player who has either pitched an inning or has had one at-bat for the Phillies this year. So I will be giving them out at the end. And then the week that the All-Star break is going on, I probably won't be posting because I can't see unless there's like breaking news, and then maybe it'll even just be like a little live stream I do of just talking about that, like a quick thing. But the next episode will probably be in a week talking about the Padres series after this. So we have that to look forward to then, because I kind of need a mental break from a lot of things. So this would be nice. Not to say I don't enjoy doing this. That sounded bad, but just one less thing on my plate that I have to find something to talk about during that week off. We're just all going to take the week off and enjoy it. So that's what we got. So headlines, we had some bad news that turned into good news. And then more bad news with a Phillies pitcher. So Andrew Painter was shut down after experiencing some elbow discomfort. Rob Thompson said there was a lot of concern with that. However, an MRI revealed that the UCL sprain was actually healing. which was a great, big, huge win for the Phillies because as soon as you hear he was shut down, my first thought was, oh, there's the Tommy John surgery that he's probably going to need. And then we won't see him till 2025 at that point. So it was really, really good to see that the sprain was actually healing. So they're just shutting him down again. I doubt he pitches in 2023. It's unfortunate. It sucks, but I saw, I was reading articles about it, and this is a similar thing that happened to Aaron Nola back in 2015, where they just kind of let it rest and it worked. So they're hoping that it'll be the same outcome with Andrew Painter because he's kind of their prized possession right now. He's a guy we thought was going to be tackling big innings this season, but seemingly it does not look like that's going to be the case. So we move on. In worse news, Jose Alvarado is headed to the 15-day IL with left elbow inflammation, which was the same injury he went down with at the beginning of the year. Not good, not great. They said it's more precautionary. So hopefully he'll be back after the 15 days, just taking some off. And I even said in my last episode, something's not right with him. His stuff isn't biting as much. Like he looks like he's staggering a little bit when he's out there. So we'll see what the Phillies decide to do with him. And is in his place, Andrew Bellotti was recalled, and he's been tearing it up in AAA for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. So Andrew Alvarado's out. Bellotti's in, and we will go from there. So we have to unfortunately talk about this Miami series. And it was a very disappointing series. You go into Tampa Bay and you sweep them, and they are arguably the best team in baseball. And, heading into Miami, you got to take 2 games here. I know you say that with any series, but especially going into Miami, the team that's ahead of you in the standings right now, and you kind of just dookie the bed, in both games, especially game 3, and we'll talk about that, but Christian Pache is the only reason you didn't get swept in this series. You should have been swept. Like the Phillies definitely should have been swept in this Miami series, but because of Christian Pache and his heroics, which again, if you told me I was saying this 2 months ago, I'd call you crazy, but because of him and his heroics in the 9th inning of that game 1, you took 1 game. And, and I feel like a lot of other teams, they carry that momentum in about basically stealing a win in there. You'd think you would carry momentum, stomp on their throats. I get, you were going up against Luzardo and who pitched yesterday? I forget. But 2 of their dogs were pitching yesterday. But for God's sakes, the offense had no approach. The defense was shaky. We saw with Ranger yesterday. And it was just like we were outplayed by a better team. And right now, Miami is a better team than us in the standings. And they certainly pitched and played like they were the better team and well-sound team. When you go in there, you have Wheeler, Suarez, and Nola. You expect to take at least 2 of those games. And Suarez didn't have it. And Nola, oh my God, we'll get to Nola talking about game 3, but he wants 200 million. Good one. It was just a very frustrating and disappointing series. It was. There's no other way around it. But let's dive into it. Oh, I forgot to mention in the headlines, Craig Kimbrell is added to the All-Star roster. So congratulations to Craig Kimbrell. And I have a lot to. I was wrong about Craig Kimbrell. He's been a guy that has surprised me. Like I said 1,000 times over, he's been the Phillies lose this signing every time, and he's proved me wrong. And I'm glad that he's proved me wrong because he's been a cornerstone and anchor in this Phillies bullpen. And I'm glad he's an all-star. He deserves it. He's had an excellent year. Well, congratulations to Craig Kimbrell, 2023 All-Star. But all right, so game 1, the Phillies won 4-3. My player of the game is a pretty obvious one. It's Christian Pache. That entire game, Wheeler I got to give him credit, muscled through 6 innings. He had like 50 pitches in the first 2 innings, and he just muscled through six. So I got to give him credit there. Only 3 runs. You had Jacob Stallings with an RBI single and Dane Myers with the RBI fielder's choice, both in the second. And then Garrett Cooper had a solo home run in the fourth, which, by the way, Garrett Cooper, it's probably better now, but at the time when I was doing this research, Garrett Cooper is a career 280 hitter against the Phillies, which is just like insane. Like, he's added to the list of Philly killers. So Adam there. And then the Phillies bounced back. You had JT with a solo home run and Bohm in the sixth to make it 3-1. Then there was kind of crickets. And then we had Bohm with an RBI double in the ninth. And then Christian Pache with 2 outs in the ninth hits a dinger to win the Phils the game. And then Kimbrel slams the door in the ninth inning. Like, what a win. I was at work when this was happening, and my jaw dropped when the Phillies tweeted, like, Christian Pache, are you kidding me? I'm like, did he just hit a home run? Yeah, damn right he did. It's Christian Pache has impressed the hell out of me. I was one to say that, yeah, he looked like trash when he first got here. It seemed like he was overwhelmed, not taking any pitches. And he's done a complete turnaround. He's been the player that I think Atlanta thought they were getting, and I think the A's thought they were getting. And Kevin Long, again, unlocked something in this young hitter, and he has like a 900 OPS. He's hitting well over 300 in spot starts, and he's been awesome. Christian Pache has been awesome out there. And, it's one of those things where I want to give him more playing time, but I don't want him to get exposed. You look at a guy like Sosa, who in limited playing time last year played really well, but now he's getting consistent playing time and he's not playing that well. He's hitting under 230. And, it just is frustrating, but I don't know if Christian Pache can turn that on and be a consistent bat, because a lot of the Phillies' issues rely on the defense in left field. I mean, the Phillies have plenty of issues, but, the guy in left field and Kyle Schwarber has been a massive letdown defensively, and that's always been his thing. I'm not one to say that Kyle Schwarber is a gold glover, but, when we signed him, his whole thing was the defense. And I'm, going throughout throughout last year, I never really noticed it. I never really thought that Kyle Schwarber was as bad as they were saying he was in the field. And this year, it's just been atrocious. It's been a train wreck out there. So my point is, if Bryce can get healthy, with his arm and be able to play the field, you get him, slot him at first base, because he's been working on that. And then you move Schwarber to DH, you get Pache out there in the left, or if you want to sign some or bring somebody in for a trade, because they do need some pop in this lineup. Maybe that's what I'll do during the week off, is look for trades and maybe have somebody on to talk about trades. Maybe that'll be something we do. But that's just me thinking crazy, you get Pache out there, you see what you can get out of him on an everyday basis, get him constant reps, because he's earned it, in my opinion. The Phillies saw something similar with Cody Clemens, who was raking in limited time, and then obviously he got overexposed because they were giving him that playing time, but he deserved it. And, not to say that Cody Clemens is a slouch, like, he is a good player to have. He just kind of was slowing down, and especially with Hall raking in AAA, they really didn't have a choice. So, and apparently they are moving Cody Clemens all around the infield, not just the first base. So that'll just add to his versatility. He can be a Swiss Army man, kind of like how Nick Maton was. Well, ironically enough, when the guy they traded for is Cody Clemens. So. In terms of pitching, I also got to give a huge hand to Jeff Hoffman. Pitched 2 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Like, he kept this game close. Topper really trusted him to get this, keep this game close and to give his guys a break on the bullpen side, because they had to use a few guys in that extra inning games against the Rays. So Hoffman did his job, 2 solid innings. And then, like I said, Kimbrel slammed the door. And this is my favorite comparison, and I've used it before to my friends. the Miami Marlins, and I say that now after we lost the series, but the Marlins are the Vikings of MLB. And for those of you who don't know, the Minnesota Vikings last year in the NFL were one of the luckiest teams ever to go to win 13 games. Every single one of their games was decided by like one score. And eventually that luck ran out when they ran into, God, who eliminated the Vikings? Oh, it was the Giants, the New York Giants. Dismantled them. Danny Dimes played out of his mind. And they got exposed. I think that's going to happen with the Marlins, but I don't know. Baseball works a lot different than football. You get lucky with baseball. A guy can go off randomly. And I guess you can make the same argument for football, but I feel like it's a little more structured and unpredictable in that way. Sometimes, I'm sure that comment won't come back to haunt me. But my comparison is the Marlins are the Vikings of MLB. The luck eventually is just going to run out, and I will be very excited for that day. But until then, whatever. Then you get the game 2. Ranger just didn't have it. 5 2/3, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Ranger is not a guy who's going to walk a lot of guys. So when he started throwing out the walks, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't have it. He's been beaten around. His past 2 starts has not been hot for Rangers. So I'm not worried, I think he's coming back down to earth after his June where he had like a 1-something ERA. He's just kind of coming back to earth a little bit, maybe a little fatigue. So this week off, I think this week off for the Phillies is going to do them a lot of good rather than bad. So we'll see how they do with getting that week off. Nola, Wheeler, Suarez, Taiwan, and Chris Sanchez all just taking a break, and especially getting a week off for a guy like Matt Strahm, whose innings has surpassed already from what his inning total was last year. So if we get him to be a guy who can tackle a couple innings again, or even use him one game or multiple games, to kind of limit the innings, because you could tell that they've been trying to limit his innings for a while. So getting that week off, I think, is going to be very, very beneficial to this Phillies team. A nice little reset to guys like Harper, Schwarber. Hopefully Casty doesn't skip a beat. Same thing with Bomer. He was starting to get hot. Stott, hopefully he stays as good as he's been. Hopefully I never have to watch a Josh Harrison at bat. Oh, that reminds me. Josh Harrison struck out in 3 pitches with in that Christian Pache game. Has a 610 OPS. It's worse now because he played last night and shockingly went over. Can we just stop with Josh Harrison, please? Can we just stop playing Josh Harrison against lefties? Because, hey, Topper, you have analytics and you realize that Bryson Stott is a better hitter against lefties than Josh Harrison is. So can we please stop doing the lefty-righty matchup thing with Josh Harrison? And can we just get him the hell off the team, for God's sakes? Can we just stop throwing Josh Harrison out there against the lefty every single time? Bryson Stott is a better hitter against a lefty than Josh Harrison is, period. I just can't. And at that point, DFA him and bring up Scott Kingery. If you're, you're going to get better defense, better defensive versatility, and you'll probably get the same amount of offensive output. I'm a Kingery guy. Everybody knows I'm a Kingery guy. But for God's sakes, what are we doing here? Why are we still throwing Josh Harrison out on the field every single time against the lefty? I can't do it anymore. I can't sit through another Josh Harrison playing second base or third base or wherever. I can't do it anymore. Just stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Get Josh Harrison the hell out of here. And then we get to today's game, and it was just Aaron Nola doing what he does best, which was dookying the bed. 6 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Just, it's hard to win a series when your first 3 hitters go 0 for 11, or excuse me, hard to win a game when your first 3 hitters go 0 for 11. If it wasn't for Pache, you get swept here. And that's just the bottom line. It was, I don't know. It was just, they looked outmatched. They didn't work good at bats. It was bad. It was poor. And it was kind of what I was worried about heading into the All-Star break, is everybody has their eyes set on, God, a week off. No, this is against a division rival. You need to show up, and you didn't. You needed to show up and show those Marlins that we are the better team, that you guys are just lucky. And they didn't. They outplayed us on every given front. And like I said, if it wasn't for Christian Pache, you guys get swept out of there. And I expected this, especially coming off a Rays series where you dominated, basically. You dominated that Rays series. And I'm like, oh, they're so going to lose 2 out of 3 in Miami or get swept. And you should have been swept. But luckily, Christian Pache said, I got you. So there needs to be conversations had. And if I'm the Phillies, I am not touching Aaron Nola with a 50-foot pole when he hits free agency. Unless he goes on an Arrieta-esque 2015 run in the second half. And for those of you who don't know, Arrieta had like a 1-something ERA in the second half of his Cy Young Award year. I am not giving Aaron Nola any money. I'm letting him walk because he has done nothing but hurt this team. How many times does Aaron Nola have to have? Obviously, he didn't have a lead in this game, but I'm thinking, how many times this year has Aaron Nola blown a 5-0 lead? Oh, if you got your counting numbers out, it's 1, 2, 3 times he's blown a 5-0 lead. He has a 4.3 ERA right now. That's not a guy I'm giving 150, $200 million to. No, absolutely not. See ya against us. Have fun it's probably going to be the Angels. If I had to bet money, Angels are going to sign Aaron Nola and have fun in there, bud, because I don't want him anywhere near this team anymore. Unless he miraculously turns it around and dials it up. But the way he's going right now, see ya. I'm giving Reese that money. I'm giving Reese a 1-year prove-it deal with like a team option or a mutual option for like 2 years, like 3 years, 2 mutual options for Reese. Because, my initial thing at the beginning of the year was give Nola the money and let Reese walk. And Nola has done nothing but shoot himself in the foot since the beginning of the year. He's not going to get paid nearly as much as what Aaron Nola is worth because it's giving up the long ball. He hangs every pitch. It's like he's throwing beach balls up there, for God's sakes. I saw a meme where it's like he's going to be in the home run derby as a designated pitcher because he's just giving up the long ball, and I don't know how you fix that. Is it not trusting his stuff? Is it not trusting his fastball to get up? Is it the deception? Is it the tunneling? I really don't know. I can't explain what's going on with Aaron Nola right now, but it is extremely frustrating, especially because we need him to be right for this team to be any sort of type of competitive. And it looked like after that Rays start that he was starting to right the ship a little bit, but shockingly he didn't and dookied the bed once again because he's Aaron Nola and that's just what he does. That's just what Aaron Nola does is he just chokes when we need him the most. So thanks, Aaron, for really sticking with us. I'm distraught about Aaron Nola. I'm just disappointed. I thought this was going to be the year where he kind of takes, I thought there was going to be a bidding war for Aaron Nola at the end of this year, but now, I don't know what the market for Aaron Nola is going to be, but I don't want him with the way he's going. And I know the Phillies are going to offer him a contract. At least I think they will, depending on how his second half goes. But even then, a team like the Orioles could use him. The team like the Angels, Rangers. No, I'm going. Here's who could use him. I'm going throughout the entire league. So let's start in the AL. So Yankees, no. Red Sox, maybe. Orioles, yes. Rays, they won't pay him that much. And Blue Jays, no, they already have enough pitching. The Central, White Sox, no, they're going to blow it up. Guardians, they don't spend that kind of money. Royals, Tigers, no. And the Twins, maybe the Twins. So we got Red Sox, Twins. Let's see. The West, A's, no. Rangers, no. Astros, no. Maybe the Astros. Who else is in that? The Angels, yes. I definitely think the Angels would be in play. And the Mariners, no. So in the American League, I got the Angels. I got the Twins. I have the Red Sox. and the Orioles as my four suitors in the American League for Aaron Nola. In the National League, Phillies, I guess, by default. Braves, no. Mets, maybe. Nats, no. Marlins, no. Central, Brewers, no. Reds, maybe. Maybe the Reds, a team that originally was projected to draft Aaron Nola. There's a little fun fact for you. Maybe. Pirates, no. Who else is in the Central? Who's at the bottom of the Central? Pirates, no. Reds, Brewers, Cardinals, yeah. Cardinals always need pitching. And who is that last person here? Excuse me. Sorry. Ashlyn was calling me. Who's the last team in the Central? Who am I forgetting? Brewers, Cardinals, Cubs maybe. And in the West, Dodgers, nah. Dodgers, yeah. Giants, yeah. Padres, they just sign anybody, so yeah. Rockies, no, and D-backs, maybe. So there's certainly I thought it was going to be a bidding war, but a bunch of teams, but now it's just nothing. I apologize for ranting for however long about where Aaron Nola might be going, but I don't want him back here if he's going to pitch like this, because he's just hurting us, especially when you have Andrew Painter in the wings, you have Mick Abel, Griff McGarry, and other impending free agents that you can sign to not replace him, but replace him. I like it when it's centered. And now, y'all know what time it is. It's time for Where Are They Now? The worst show on the internet. This is a series in which I go back and look at all the lovely faces that grace the Phillies bullpen over the past few years. I got some dudes in here. Let me tell you that much. I got some dudes in here. I got a guy who was recently released. I have a guy whose left nut is still in Dunedin, and the guy who I wanted on the 2021 Phillies. So my first guy is a guy who I actually saw live in person make his Phillies debut. That is Big Country. I don't know if that's his name, but he looks like a Big Country guy. Tommy Hunter, relief pitcher Tommy Hunter. Big game Tommy Hunter. Injured all the time, Tommy Hunter. So Tommy Hunter was originally drafted by the Rangers in the first round of 2007 MLB draft. He spent 3 years with Texas, had a 4.36 ERA, and then in 2011 he was traded to the Orioles alongside Chris Davis, aka Crush Davis, for Kojai Uehara. He then spent 2011 to 2015 with the Baltimore Orioles, in which he had a 4.16 ERA in 407 innings. He was then traded to the Cubs in 2015 for Junior Lake. He only spent half the season there. It was a trade deadline acquisition, and he had a 5.74 ERA in 15 innings. He then signed a 1-year deal with the Cleveland Guardians in 2016, in which he spent a majority of that time on the IL with a non-displaced fracture in his back. In 21 and 2/3 innings, he had a 3.74 ERA. He was released in August and then re-signed for a second stint with the Orioles. And then he signed a minor league deal with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2017, and he actually pitched extremely well in 61 games, 58 and 2/3 innings. He had a 2.61 ERA, which was by far the best of his career. So a career year for Tommy Hunter, which leads us to the Phillies. The Phillies gave Tommy Hunter 2 years. And I don't blame them for giving him that, especially coming off a year which he had a 2.61. Phillies looking for not desperate, but looking for bullpen help. And he spent 2018, 2019, and 2020 with the Phillies, and he wasn't terrible. He wasn't awful. 94 innings pitched to a 3.64 ERA. I remember him being a lot worse than his numbers really said, because turns out throwing 93 miles an hour right down the middle as a relief pitcher is not going to get it done anymore in today's game. And after he left in free agency in 2020 with the Phillies and then signed with the New York Mets, he spent 3 years there. And in those 3 years, 54 innings pitched to a 4 ERA. And then on June 10th, almost a month ago, he was DFA'd and has not resurfaced. So that's Tommy Hunter. Boy, golly, do I not miss having to sit through Tommy Hunter. I'm pretty sure the Phillies shelled him once as a member of the Mets, which was like poetic justice, in my opinion, for all the times that they shelled us. I feel like the Mets signed a lot of former Phillies. You had Tommy Hunter, you have David Robertson, Jared Hughes from a couple years ago. We talked about him. God, I'm sure there's more players, but I feel like Sam Coonrod. I feel like a lot of former Phillies relievers end up on the Mets eventually, so I think it's a kind of an inside job almost. So that's Tommy Hunter. Now, here, the next guy is a guy that I thought, the Phillies, I thought he was one of the better relievers the Phillies have had in recent years, and a guy that I really wanted them to re-sign after the 2020 season, but unfortunately, he luckily didn't, because he ended up needing Tommy John surgery in September, and he's still on the shelf for that. A guy who's took a nut for the Phils, that is, of course, Jose Alvarez, lefty. He was the Phillies lefty before Jose Alvarado came around. Jose Alvarez signed as an international free agent in 2005 by the Boston Red Sox. He never played for the Boston Red Sox. He was always in their minor league affiliate until 2009, when he was traded alongside Hunter Jones for Jeremy Hermida. Final. He then spent 2010 to 2012 with the Florida Marlins, but never played in MLB. He then was released in 2012 and picked up by Detroit. And with Detroit, he spent 2012 to 2014. He actually made his major league debut in 2013. And in those games, 6 starts, 14 games, 38 and 2/3 innings, 42 hits, 25 earned runs, 16 walks, 31 strikeouts to a 5.82 ERA. So not great. He then was shipped out to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in 2014 for Andrew Romine. And this is kind of where Alvarez found his success in 4 years with the, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 5 years, my apologies, with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Pitched in 270 games, 236 and 2/3 innings, 231 hits, 88 earned runs, 72 walks, 215 strikeouts. That is a 3.35 ERA. So he was really good for the Angels for a long period of time. It wasn't one of those guys who had like one good year like Tommy Hunter and was able to turn that into, money. Like, he actually was money, no pun intended, but he was money for the Angels. And then the Phillies decided to give the Angels a call, like I feel like they always do, to get players. The Phillies traded Luis Garcia to the Angels in exchange for Mr. Alvarez. And Alvarez spent 2019 to 2020 with the Phillies, and in 75 games, he actually started a game. I think it was as an opener. 65 and a third innings, 73 hits, 23 runs, 21 walks, 57 strikeouts to a 3.17 ERA. But I think everybody remembers Jose Alvarez for taking one off the nut against the Blue Jays when his left testicle literally imploded after getting hit by a line drive. I forget who hit it, but sweet merciful God. Poor guy got hit in the nut and has never been the same since. That's a lie. He was really good with the Giants the next year. But he was. Shout out to Jose Alvarez for being a better man than me, because I would have just retired right then and there after getting hit in the balls, man. That, jeepers creepers. And the Phillies decided to let him walk, which I thought was a mistake. I thought he was one of the few guys from that 2020 bullpen that could have provided some sort of strength in 2021. But unfortunately, the Giants gave him a 1-year deal. And he spent 2021 to 2022 with the San Francisco Giants. And in those games, 1 start, ironically enough, 88 games, 80 innings, 70 hits, 26 earned runs, 28 walks, 57 strikeouts. That's a 2.93 ERA. Unfortunately, in September of 2022, he had Tommy John surgery, which shelved him for all of this year and probably half of next year as well. But currently is in the minor league system for the Detroit Tigers. So when Alvarez does resurface, he will be a member of the Detroit Tigers. Shout out to Jose Alvarez. Comeback season coming soon. 1-0 all. I don't know if he lost. He probably didn't lose a nut. I hope he didn't lose a nut. I can't imagine going through that kind of pain. And not only going through that pain, I'm pretty sure he finished the play that where he got hit in the nuts, was able to get off the mound, throw the ball to first to get the out, and then was just out, down for the count. Shout out to Jose Alvarez. You are an American hero, my friend. And my final guy is a guy that, like I said, I wanted the Phillies to re-sign because I thought in the limited time he was on the Phillies, he was pretty effective. But looking back on it, his stats weren't. I wasn't much of a stat nerd as I was back then than I am now, and even then, I'm really not like xWOBA and expected batting average and this, that. Like, I'm not one of those guys, but I look into that stuff because it is interesting. And I'm a not a traditional baseball guy who looks at like batting average. I look at OPS and like, slugging and stuff like that. And with pitchers, you look at their whip and expected ERAs and stuff like that. But I'm not one of those super nerds who only look at that stuff and think ERA and batting average don't matter, because they do. But that guy, of course, is the guy who always looked like this. He was always, what was that? That is Blake Parker. Blake Parker was drafted by the Cubs in the 16th rounds of the 2006 MLB draft. He spent 2012 to 2014 with the Chicago Cubs. In those games, 74 games, 73 and a third, 73 hits, a lot of 73s going on, 30 runs, 24 walks, 85 strikeouts. That is a 3.86 ERA. He missed the entire 2015 season with loose body surgery in his right elbow, which practically means there was like a fracture in his elbow and there were shards that were kind of like around, and they had to repair that. I had to look that up because while I was researching this, I'm like, what the hell? What? So I had to look it up. There's basically a shattered, like not a break, but there was like fragments of bone in his elbow that they had to repair. So he missed the entirety of the 2015 season. He then signed a minor league deal with the Seattle Mariners. However, he pitched in one game for the Seattle Mariners, and then he was released, picked up by the Yankees, and combined with the Mariners and Yankees in 2016, 16 and a third innings, 16 hits, 9 earned runs, 8 walks, 15 strikeouts. That is a 4.96 ERA. He then was released, picked up by Milwaukee, released, and then picked up by the Angels. Ironically, 2 Angels on this list. And I mentioned the Angels there. No, that is completely by coincidence. I promise you. He with the Angels, he actually found success. 138 games, 133 and 2/3 innings pitched. Yeah, I'm reading the right one. 103 hits, 43 earned runs, 35 walks, 156 strikeouts to a 2.9 ERA. So not bad for Blake Parker in 2 years with the Angels. They had some dudes on the Angels, kind of were the Phillies, and the Phillies were the Angels. And then he signed a 1-year deal with Minnesota. 37 games, 36 and a third innings, 34 hits, 17 earned runs, 16 walks, 34 strikeouts. That's a 4.21 ERA. He was actually DFA'd in July of 2019, and the Phillies picked him up. And then he spent 2019 and 2020 with the Phillies. In those years, he pitched in 37 games, 3 starts, 41 innings, 31 hits, 19 earned runs, 15 walks, 56 strikeouts to a 4.17 ERA. He then elected free agency, and I thought, out of all the bullpen guys to bring back, Blake Parker and Alvarez were not the worst guys to bring back. However, he signed a minor league contract with the Cleveland Guardians. And with the Guardians in 2021, he 47 games, 43 and 2/3, 43 hits, 15 earned runs, 14 walks, 37 strikeouts to a 3.09 ERA. So also really good. Then was a free agent, signed with a minor league deal with the Cardinals in 2022, but was released in July of 2022 and then has not been seen since. So that's Blake Parker for you. And now we are at the end of our show, our program, in which I will be going over some... my apologies, hold on. And this concludes another edition of the worst show on the internet. Where are they now? I just got to check something. Sorry, Ashlyn's texting me. I gotta make sure she's okay. Okay. All right. Um, Back to it. My apologies. I don't really go on my phone a lot, but I gotta make sure she's good. She's good in case anybody's worried. So now we get to midseason grades. In this, I will be going through the infield, the outfield, the starters, and the bullpen. And basically give them a grade for the half season so far. And give like a brief explanation why, because there's a lot of names on here. And like I said, it's a guy, if he's pitched in an inning or had an at bat, he's on this list. So let's get to it. So in the infield, Alec Boehm, I gave a B minus. Because he's been solid, especially playing out of position. Obviously playing first base a lot. And his fielding percentage is like 960 or something at third base. He's been excellent over there. The only thing that knocks him down is his power. I thought he was going to have that. He unfortunately hasn't developed that power like I thought he was going to at the beginning of the year. And I think a lot of Phillies fans thought he was going to at the beginning of the year. So B minus for Alec Boehm. Cody Clemens, I gave a C. Like I mentioned earlier, like he just was a guy to fill in. He did his job. He did his job well. So I can't really knock him for anything like that. Same thing with Drew Ellis. I gave him a C minus. It was just like he wouldn't be in this position if the Phillies weren't injured, and he did a fine job filling in. We had that big series in Washington last month. So he was fine. Derek Hall, C. Like, I didn't really know how to grade Derek Hall because he's only played in like 7 games at this point, and he's been about as good as I'd expected him to be. So a C. Josh Harrison, F minus, G if I could. He's the worst acquisition the Phillies have had in a while. He sucks at everything. Can't hit. He fields fine. But yeah, I hate him. Get Josh Harrison out of here. Edmundo Sosa, I gave a D. I've been very disappointed with Edmundo. I thought he was going to take that next step forward offensively. Even defensively, he's been a little shaky this season. So, I really thought he was going to take a step forward, especially after being traded from the Cardinals to the Phillies. He had a 300 batting average, played really good defense, and he kind of took a step back, I feel like, this year. So very disappointed with Edmundo, but who knows? He could turn it on in the second half. We'll have to wait and see. Bryson Stott, A. He's been excellent in the field. He's been awesome at the plate. He's just been all around. He's an all-star, in my opinion. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to make the roster, but things can change. But I've been very impressed with Bryson Stott. He's taking that next step forward like we all hoped he would, and not being outmatched, not having the sophomore slump like Alec Boehm did, unfortunately, a couple years ago. But Stott is taking that next step forward to be that cornerstone guy at second base for the Phillies. And then Trey Turner, I gave a C minus. A very lackluster first half for Trey Turner in his first year as a Philly. The steals were there, kind of. Average wasn't. The power was about as good as I'd expected it to be. His defense has been shaky. It's just been a very disappointing season so far for Trey Turner. But if Nick Castellanos is any indication about bounce back years, I'm hoping that Trey will turn it on, because he ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So we'll see with Trey Turner. So now moving on to the outfield. I just got to take a drink real quick. 1 second. Now, before you say anything, yes, that was a hell of a good dip container filled with water. My family's white trash. Get over it. Anyway, to the outfield, Nick Castellanos, A. He has been awesome. He's an all-star. He's the guy this year we thought we were signing last year. His defense out in right field has been pretty good, considering he's a very below average fielder. He's actually been really good out there in right field. Obviously, he has his blunders every now and again, but he's not a liability out there anymore, I feel like. And his offense is awesome. He's hitting well over 300. The power, he's already matched his home run total from last year, this year. It's awesome to see Casty bounce back, silence out the haters and silence out the noise to push forward, and be great. Jake Cave, D+, he raked in spring training and then got up to the big leagues and was a little lackluster. And now he's sitting in AAA also raking. So he just might be a quadruple A player. But the reason it's a D plus and not a D minus is because he broke Sandy Alcantara after hitting an absolute moonshot off of him. Brandon Marsh, B minus. It's hot and cold with Marsh, but when he's hot, he is red hot. He is hitting the ball over the field, but when he's cold, it's a hole in the lineup. But his defense, you can't take that away from him, and the vibes that he brings, and I can mention that with Stott too. The vibes that everybody kind of has. I just realized I left off two very important people from this list as I was talking about vibes. And I can't believe I forgot these guys. Okay, anyway, I think you can figure out who I forgot to leave off talking about vibes, but great vibes. Christian Pache, B minus. If you asked me at the beginning of the year, F, but he has proved me wrong. He has been excellent. He's been everything the Phillies were hoping to get when they acquired him from the Oakland Athletics, and in limited playing time, he's been awesome. Kyle Schwarber, I gave a C. The defense is terrible, but he's not an outfielder anymore, and his bat has been lackluster. The pop isn't exactly there like it was last year. So, C for Kyle Schwarber. Like, he still works good at bats and still, has a decent OPS. So whatever. Harper, I gave a B, and the power not there. The guy had Tommy John surgery a few months ago. Give the guy a break. He's still hitting 300. Like, he's still hitting. And he's coming back from Tommy John surgery like 4 months earlier than expected. Like, we'd be expecting him in like a couple weeks after the All-Star break. That's when Bryce Harper would be making his season debut. But no, guy's unreal. So I gave him a B. I love Bryce. Everybody loves Bryce, but power isn't there. Average is, and you can tell he's kind of pressing a little bit because he wants that power stroke, and he's just not there. And I don't think it'll be there this year. I think we're going to see probably a career low in home runs this year from Bryce Harper in a full 162. Obviously, 2020 doesn't count, but in a full 162, you're probably going to see a career low from Bryce Harper in home runs, just because that's what happens with TJ. Sometimes the power gets up, but I don't know. This guy's a freak of nature. He could just turn it on, and he's fine. The two guys I forgot to leave off were the catching tandem. JT Realmuto, I gave a C plus. His defense has not skipped a beat. He's still excellent defender, still the best defensive catcher in baseball. Offensively, he's taken a massive step back. However, we saw this kind of last year where his first half was a little bad, but then he dialed it up in the second half and hit well over 300, was carrying that Phillies offense in Bryce's absence. So maybe we'll see something similar. And Garrett Stubbs, B, and that's purely just for vibes. Garrett Stubbs is what Garrett Stubbs is. I love him. Garrett, come on the pod. And that's just what it is. Don't question me. Now we'll move to the pitching side. Aaron Nola, D. I already laid into him enough, so we won't really talk about that. Zach Wheeler, C minus. A little disappointed with Wheeler. Velo's just not there like it was last year. And like I said, maybe this week off will be good for these guys to maybe get back to their former selves and be able to. Ranger Suarez, I gave a B minus. We had that killer June. He's off to a shaky start in July, but I'm sure he's going to find water. He's going to be like, oh, this is how I locate again, and just figure it out. Taijuan Walker, B plus. I really liked, the beginning of the year also was a disaster for Taijuan, but he was able to dial it up and continue his really good outings as a Philly. Like, he's been really, really good and very impressed with him. Bailey Falter, F, a guy I believed in heavily, and just massive disappointment from him. I thought him learning a changeup was going to be the difference, but unfortunately it wasn't. Dylan Covey, D. And why do you give him F? Dylan Covey in the bullpen, not too bad. Did they figure something out with Dylan Covey? Did they figure him out? Are the Phillies a pitching factory? Pitching wins championship. And then Chris Sanchez, B plus. He's blown me out of the water since becoming the Phillies full-time fifth starter. Chris Sanchez is a guy that just takes the ball, kind of similar to Ranger, ice in his veins, just goes out there and throws strikes. If he can hit it, great. If not, you're going to be sitting in the dugout in a couple pitches. He's been excellent. He's kind of stabilized that rotation a little bit. And now we'll get to the bullpen side of things. Alvarado, yes, he's injured, but he's been awesome. Has a 1.2 ERA. He's been great. Andrew Bellotti, C+, a little disappointed with him. However, I'm not fully blaming it on him because Topper used the hell out of him at the beginning of the year and it kind of blew up in his face. And then since being used properly down in AAA, he hasn't allowed an earned run, and now he's back with the big league club, so we'll see how Topper handles that. Brogdon, D. I've been massively disappointed with Connor Brogdon. I thought this was going to be his kind of breakout year, like a 2.2 ERA or something like that from Connor Brogdon, because he has that potential. It's just he gets in his own head and overthinks stuff and pulls and leaves stuff hanging. And, Connor Brogdon's always a pitch away from having like a 5 ERA over his next like 5 or 6 appearances. So massive disappointment from Connor Brogdon. Sir Anthony, B-. He's just been injured a lot. And even when he was on the mound, he wasn't fully there. So hopefully the second half will get him back. Jeff Hoffman, A. I've been really impressed with Philly's been able to do with Jeff Hoffman. He's tackled multiple innings. He's tackled 1 innings. He has that great velo, the deception. He's been a guy. He's kind of like the Andrew Bellotti of last year, kind of a surprise guy. Craig Kimbrell, A-. I know I really gave him a tongue bath in the last episode and even a little bit in this one, but he's an all-star. He's proved me wrong, and he's been great. He's been Craig Kimbrell. Junior Marte, C+. The stuff is there, and it's getting there, but he just has the blow-up inning a lot. It's there. It's certainly there. Here's a name you probably haven't heard in a while. McKinley Moore, D. He just came up for a couple games and wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. D, I guess. Luis Ortiz, kind of more underrated guys in this Phillies bullpen. B, I thought he's been solid in every appearance that he's had for the Phillies so far in spot outings, so it's good. Greg Soto, A-. Yes, I know he had the bad inning today, but look at his stats. He's been way, 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 way better. He had like a sub-1 ERA in June, and nobody talked about it. So Greg Soto, A-. Matt Strahm, A. He's, I think, been the best Phillies offseason pickup. Yes, his past few his past few outings have been shaky, but he was kind of burnout in terms of his arm and innings and everything. So A. Eric Ullman, F. It was a guy I really had high hopes for coming over from the Cubs. And Jared, who's Eric Ullman? He was a guy the Phillies picked up around spring training that I thought they were going to be able to use as like kind of like a Andrew Vasquez-esque with Nick Nelson kind of guy, like multiple innings and can be an innings eater, but no, he just stinks. And speaking of Andrew Vasquez, I've been mad. I'm a huge Andrew Vasquez fan. I think he is one of the most underrated pitchers on the Phillies right now, and I think he deserves a lot more credit than what he's getting deserved. I don't know if you heard that, but I just farted, so take that one with you. But that's gonna do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I'm going to be back. I might be back in the middle of the week, talk about trade stuff, but I don't really know yet. I'll keep you guys updated with that. And August 10th, 6:40, live stream extravaganza. Be there, be square. Please, like, subscribe, follow all the socials down below, and I will see you guys next time.